Now, as we've been saying, this year marks 40 years of CBC's holiday campaign. When you reach a milestone like that, you can't help but start to look back and reflect on the decades of generosity and how it all got started. Our next guest was on the team that started this campaign back in 1985. Sitting beside me is Mike Spear. Good morning to you, sir.
Good morning, sir.
Yeah, thanks very much for coming in.
You're welcome.
What do you think when you hear us repeating over and over that this is 40 years of something that you helped start?
Been there, done that. It's the kind of the vibe and the enthusiasm and the donations and everything. That part really hasn't changed. You know, as a listener on the radio, it sounds the same, it feels the same. Behind the scenes, things changed a lot from 84 and 85.
Oh, yeah. Okay, well, take us back to that time. I mean, behind the scenes, what was your role? What were you doing? And how was this project born?
It's a little misty about how it was actually born, with help from some of your former colleagues like Helen Henderson and one of the techs that I worked with in 85 when the food bank started, Al Lamb. We've kind of pieced together a bit of a history. Tom Grand was the original founder of the Food Bank Drive when he was producing the Eyeopener, and I just got off the phone from him about half an hour ago. It took a while to track him down, but we did, and he helped fill in some blanks. It was just kind of an organic thing. The economy in Calgary in 85 was not doing well.
Right.
Coming out of the NEP, interest rates were 9.5%, the housing market had tanked, oil prices were falling. And the food bank had started in 82, and there was actually dueling food banks. And it just seemed like the thing to do, find something to do to support Calgarians. And Tom Grand went down to one of the two food banks that existed at the time, toured the facility, kind of saw what was going on. It was really early days for the food bank. And he just kind of shrugged and said, let's do this.
That's cool. So, interesting, there were two food banks. Now the Calgary Food Bank just this month opened a second location downtown on the C-Train line, so a support to access for people. So that's a positive story. Can I ask what you and Tom chatted about this morning?
Yeah, actually. He
must have been surprised to hear from you.
He was actually, yes. And surprisingly, we just picked up almost where we left off many years ago when he left CBC Calgary. One thing he reminded me of when we started the drive in 85, I was an associate producer on the morning show and then kind of partway through moved over to the noon show as producer. But he and I climbed up on the overpass over Memorial Drive by the CBC location at the time and hung a big banner that we'd had made. You had to go through the city and all sorts of rules and everything, which we decided we weren't going to do. And he said, remember, it was kind of cold, it was winter, and we got up on the overpass and hung the banner ourselves.
I think that's called guerrilla marketing.
Yeah, I think it was actually, because the drive really had no official status at the time. It was just kind of a thing. And the technical world was a lot different then. You couldn't donate online. There was no such thing.
Right.
So the lobby was where people went to donate. So the crowd in the lobby was always big because it was the only way to donate. Bring down your groceries, bring down your cash, and you know, we didn't have a computer sitting out there in 85, and the way we tallied the groceries was counting bags. So at the end of the day, instead of giving a dollar total, we gave a bag total. This is how many bags we've raised today.
How many bags of groceries you collected? Cool.
Yeah.
Well, the through arc of that for sure, though, is the generosity of Calgarians. Yeah. And I also note, you know, you talk about that moment, like 1985 in Calgary, what the economy was doing, how many people were struggling, and that has zigged and zagged, you know, the state of the economy. But certainly right now, you know, we just recognize affordability as a challenge and how many people are struggling or have a need and benefit from what the food bank does.
Yeah, it was amazing how many people back then in a struggling economy, you know, opened their pockets and donated money. By 1989, we hit our first $1 million mark. And
wow.
Yeah, because I got a CBC President's Award in 1990 for having hit that $1 million mark. And it was done in a very different way. As you say, it was more cash, more groceries. We produced a book called The Good Question Book based on one of the features of the show, and we did about 5 volumes in the end of that, I think. And proceeds of that book went into the food bank coffers. The restaurant reviewer John Gilchrist did a book. Proceeds from, or a portion of the proceeds from that went into it. So the way we raised money was different, but the enthusiasm and the way people embraced it and the way the money came in and the need for it, that has been consistent throughout 40 years.
Yeah. Well, I'm really struck by the significance that you were there in 85 and you're here this morning. Like, I'm not talking about your age. I'm talking about,
Yes, you are.
Did I just do that by accident?
Yeah.
I might have. Yeah. Okay. Well, I was kicking around in 85. I just wasn't running the Make the Season Kind campaign. But anyway, I mean, how do you think about that it's still going, I guess, and that we're together this morning?
Yeah, I think it's kind of cool, but
That's what I was trying to get to.
Yeah. It shows my longevity too, but it does show the impact of it. When Tom and I were talking this morning, it made a difference in the ratings for the show itself because it really boosted things up. And I actually looked for some online newspapers going back to the 85 to about 1990 period. And the ads that were appearing in the paper and the fact that it was a unique drive, there was columns written by some of the op-ed columnists in the local newspapers at the time. And it actually meant a lot for CBC itself, as well as the food bank.
Yeah, no, and I would say it still does. Like when we come into this month, Angela is really our leader in this, and there's lots of other people that roll the ball up the hill. But, with Angela as our leader, I think, boy, we're headed into a month where we're all going to work really hard. She's going to work really hard, but it is the most kind of connective, rooted month in our relationship with Calgary, with the community, with our listeners, et cetera, et cetera. So, yeah. Yeah,
and Blitz Day has always been part of it from the very beginning. We had a satellite location in the Petro-Canada building, which is now the Suncor Energy Centre.
Yep.
And Petro-Canada really helped give us a boost. The choir used to come down on a regular basis because Petro-Canada had its own choir. So the corporate connection, the community connection, the service organizations that we connected with at the time, seemingly hasn't changed in many ways.
Hasn't changed. No, you laid the groundwork and we're just kind of continuing on. So, hey, it's really great to spend a bit of time with you this morning. Thank you very much for coming in, for the history lesson and for what you started, you and others started.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, very good. Young Buck.
Young Buck, exactly.
Young Buck. That was Mike Spear. He's a writer and former CBC producer. He was one of the original people on the morning show team that started our CBC Calgary holiday campaign.